because the vast majority of people don't even have a concept of what wilderness is.
Without any natural predator, their populations just increase drastically.
The loss of having wolves in our ecosystem, I think, became apparent in the early 70s, and the environment and the health of the environment really became a concern for people. And so as that shifted...
I've been here since 1974, and currently I'm the head animal curator. We have the 3 North American canines, well actually 4 species of them now, besides the wolves, Canis lupus. We also have coyotes, Canis latrans, and we have red foxes, Vulpes vulpes, and we have gray foxes, which are a different species. And we have bison.
Wolves and dogs, of course, are considered the same species by a number of biologists just because of the genetic relatedness. Dogs arose from wolves probably 16 to 20,000 years, although that in itself is highly debatable. But it's not really important when the separation occurred. They are extremely similar and yet in many ways very different in terms of their early period of socialization, their response to human beings, and a number of other aspects of their behavior. You can see a lot of differences as well as similarities. Barking, for example. Wolves will bark, but it's an alarm call and it's extremely rare behavior, whereas I have a German Shepherd and I've gone to great lengths to teach him not to bark at everything.
We are in charge of regular maintenance of the park. We make sure that the wolves get their medicine every day, as well as the coyotes and the foxes. We make sure that the bison are healthy.
We raise our wolf the same way like Eric Klingerhammer did, who established this wolf park. This means without doing conflict, building up a positive relation with our wolves.
Wolf Park is a really nice place to visit. We have people remarking on how peaceful it is and how pretty. So even if you just enjoy a nice walk and would like to see some animals on it, it's a good place to come. It's a good place for teachers to bring their classes. And we also have opportunities available for people who want to do research that they may be hoping to publish later on too. When we do have researchers come, we have to review their project for feasibility and whether or not it's going to be good for the wolves, not harm them, and it also has to be approved by our director of research.
And I am the current manager here at Wolf Park, and I have been employed by Wolf Park for about 12 years now. One of the biggest arguments, when you're looking at saving wolves is the ranchers who make their livelihood, of course, and then hunters who also are looking at going after the same prey species as wolves are. So it's kind of a competition sort of thing there. And with that, humans of themselves, we're wanting to get the biggest buck. We want the largest rack. We want the prettiest doe. And the worry and the fear is that wolves are going to take that away.
Nature, we have a lot of deers, like the biggest one is a moose, or elk as you call it. If the humans don't regulate these big animals, they are eating a lot of the trees and destroying actually the woods. By nature, this would not be needful to do that because the predators will regulate it by nature. So they are quite important.
There's several different things that, I hope for Wolf Park and impacting our community here in several different facets. Educating younger kids in what wolves are and getting them to see them up close and learning about them and kind of dispelling some of those myths and fears and legends and stuff is definitely one of the major things that would be great. With wolves being taken off the endangered species list, it's really going to be up for the people to support them and to vote to keep them around.
When you look at areas where they've eliminated predators for ungulates, so deer, elk, any prey animals. Without any natural predator, their populations just increase drastically, and that devastates not only the plant populations in that given area, but it also makes the genetic pool for those ungulates poorer, a lot more sick deer and deer that live past the time that they should.
I think the two critical aspects about conservation in general, whether it's wolves or any other animal, is trying to not only understand them, but also try to educate other people about the importance of wildlife, of wilderness, because the vast majority of people don't even have a concept of what wilderness is, and they have no concern about whether we preserve wildlife or wilderness, wolves included. So the more education that's done out there, the better. The more that people study and learn, just simply following biological podcasts in some respects, or learning about science, can be a great benefit to preserving wilderness, preserving wolves.
We're still in the process of assessing that. They've done some studies that indicate that in some places wolves seem to function like what is called a keystone species, meaning that their effect on the environment spreads far beyond the animals that they may interact with directly, like their prey or like competitors. One thing that they do seem to affect is they do keep coyotes in check. And if coyotes are kept in check, at least in Yellowstone, that means that the red fox population benefits. Coyotes were not, as far as we know, originally native to Yellowstone, not within historical memory. But when we extirpated wolves from that national park, that meant that the coyotes moved in, and they hunt some of the same species that wolves do, or at least scavenge from them, but the really big ones they can't take down themselves. They can only scavenge from kills. But because they're a smaller competitor, though they do overlap in what they take, overlap what wolves take a little bit, I think there's more competition between them and the foxes.
Wolves were put on the endangered species list in 1973, and even before then there were some states that saw the value of wolves, or having wolves in their state and wanting to keep them around. At that particular time, we had basically extirpated all of the wolves throughout the United States, with a small population in northern Minnesota. And that has now expanded into several thousand wolves in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. So, and then of course we have the Yellowstone ecosystem and all of that. So, the loss of having wolves in our ecosystem, I think, became apparent in the early 70s, and the environment and the health of the environment really became a concern for people. And so as that shifted and we started saving wolves, we also got to see a bit difference in the environment that they were living in. So, the health of the trees and the streams and the animals actually themselves that are in there, even prey species.
The primary problem is simply ignorance. People are afraid of them. They're afraid of them for historical reasons more than anything. Wolves are not much of a threat when it comes to human safety. They're not much of a threat to livestock, for that matter. However, the perception has been skewed by a combination of philosophy and a combination of propaganda. So people dislike wolves. They're afraid of them. And the general tendency, anything that you dislike and are afraid of, is to get rid of it, to remove it, to kill it. Could be a spider in your kitchen or a wolf out in the wilderness somewhere. Kind of the same mechanism involved.
The other kind of aspect, as far as kind of with the community involvement, is adding something a little bit different. With every town you have the Kiwanis clubs and the Lion clubs and the schools and their different fundraising and stuff. Wolf Park is really unique, and considering the fact that we've been here over 40 years, obviously people really like us. They like what we do. We of course love what we do, but in offering something really unique for visitors to come out and see and view, it's just kind of that added special bonus.